Welcome back, everybody. Sarcasm Speaks, Jared and Bob here. I want to follow up a little bit on what we talked about last episode because I opened the show with an epic rant of how I was just pissed and you just can't get good help anymore, right? Um, so I did talk to the guy yesterday, right? So I know this is coming out Thursday, but we record on Tuesdays if you're new to the show and just figuring this out. But Monday morning when we went in, I was like, hey man, listen, like I don't know if something happened when you sent these over to Cherie or she found the wrong file, but like you can't have these, right? Like we can't use these, right? Like to just look at them. He was like, yeah, you're right. And I was like, luckily I was able to um work like get some done this morning. I actually finished them. I stopped. I didn't finish it Sunday night, but I worked a little bit on it like early Monday morning at like 6 o'clock, and printed them out. And wouldn't you know, my printer ran out of ink like halfway through. So I was like, this is the deal, right? This is what I would expect them to look like. Um, Little things like it's not as simple as just putting the actual like asset number of the piece of equipment on it. Like you need to type in the word asset number and then have like the command to merge in the number because some of these this list, right, that we're mail merging has 450 pieces of equipment on it. Not all 450 pieces have an asset number, right? So like we need to know like what this number means, right? And there's also other kinds of number, like there's other ways to identify, like we need to be able to understand what this is, right? So I was like, if I didn't explain that clearly enough the first time, that's on me. But like this is what we're looking for. And he was like, yeah, yeah, I totally get that. He was like, that makes a lot of sense. He was like, I was having a really hard time trying to figure everything out on Friday. And I was like, yeah. And I was like, you could have came to me, right? Like you could have asked me for help and we could have set up like a quick call and I could have walked you through it and we could have had this conversation last Friday and we wouldn't have been doing it right now. Right. But I was like, the fact of the matter is we have some labels that we can start using. So let's get a start on it. Um, you're going to have to figure out how to get the other ones printed, right? Because my printer ran out of ink halfway through the process. So um, so he was like, all right, I can stop at another client site, whatever. And originally our plan was to only be there Monday, Wednesday, Thursday this week. And he was like, you know what? I'm just going to come back tomorrow. He was like, I'm going to print out this other stuff at a different client site. I'm going to get the labels done and I'm just going to come back tomorrow and I'm going to work on this more tomorrow. And hopefully, by Wednesday and Thursday, like we're done on Thursday because the plan was to be done Thursday anyway. But um, so yeah, I mean, all is well there. And that's what I said too. Like, as much as I was frustrated in the moment, he is a good kid. Frustrated. It's frustrating, right?
That
Like,
bubble.
say good night, Bobo. Um, but he's a good guy, right? And that's what makes it more frustrating.
Oh, sounds like
Is
bad leadership, if you ask me.
yeah, definitely. Well,
Sounds like it's a management issue,
he's not on my team.
probably at the senior project manager level.
Yeah.
That would be my guess.
um, but yeah, so like I said, all is well. He kind of admitted to it, was like, whatever, I'll come back tomorrow and fix it. So that's why like it's hard to hate him. Like I want to hate him sometimes, but it's hard.
You know, a shiver just went down Bobby's fucking spine.
Oh yeah. Yeah. He was like somewhere, like his ears are ringing
Yeah,
right
he's like,
now.
he
He's like,
goes, Someone fucked up." He goes, "Someone fucked up in a fucking management position."
um, but yeah, I mean, it's one of those things too where you go back and forth, right? Because I shouldn't have to have had to walk him through that process because it's a very basic process that we have our interns do for us. And this guy has been here for over a year, right? So the fact that like he can't do something very simple, like a very simple part of our job after a year is extremely concerning. And that's why I was mad. But at the same time, like he's gonna own it and like be a good guy about it and like offer to come back the next day and like make it right. So it's like, it's easier to deal with that than someone that's like, well, no one gave me any help. No one offered any. Like I was all by myself, right? Like no one told me this, right? Oh, not my job, right? Like he could have been a prick about it, and he wasn't. So
Standards are low, man.
yeah, which brings me
Just not
to
being a prick, but being incompetent.
yeah.
I guess it's fine.
Which kind of brings me to my next point. So I did also mention, right, that again, no one from work listens to this, which is why I still have a job. um, but I did have my third interview with a potential new job. So I've met with someone from HR, what would be my boss, right, who's a vice president in the company, and then the senior vice president of the department.
Oh, jeez. That means the
And
regular vice president doesn't know how to fucking use labels.
yeah. So they have two jobs available. Um, and I'm trying to navigate this without giving anything away, right? Like not using names and not using anything like anything else to identify. Um,
This shouldn't be
but
this difficult. Figure it the fuck out,
so
will
my
ya?
buddy
It's like the
actually,
fucking labels. Figure it out.
yeah. So my buddy actually is the VP, right, in the position. So I would report to him. Um, You've never met him, but like I play golf with
Step
him
your
all the
fucking
time. I
label
used to
game
work
up,
with
will
him.
ya?
Yeah, I know. Seriously, figure out your labels. Um, so in the process of applying for one job, the HR woman was like, "Oh, we actually have this other job available too." So I've met with like a few different people to
Just
talk about
shower
the
you
two
with jobs
jobs.
now.
Yeah, I know, right?
We'll just you can
Yeah,
start talking about launching putting yourself in a job cannon and launching yourself into job world where you fucking filled
yeah,
with jobbies
filled with
everywhere.
jobs. You get a job, and you get a job, and you get a job. So basically, it's come down to my buddy's decision about which role I will move into, which means he called me yesterday and was like, "Hey, man, it's your choice." He goes, "You let me know which way you want to go." Um, so I've talked about it. I have the decision like 99% made. I talked to Amy about it. Like we went through it. Um, but for the purpose of entertainment, right? And the show, I figured I would seek your sage wisdom, and lay
Nice to the
out,
fitness industry.
yeah, and lay out the two jobs and see which one you would go for. So
Do they
we'll
pay the
call
same?
um roughly,
So yeah, for the purpose
yeah,
of the exercise, they pay the same. Same
yes,
hours.
no.
Okay. Uh, lay it on me.
All right, so we'll call job one project management, and we'll
Okay.
call job two relocation coordinator. So
Fucking
the
hey,
the
dude. Here
project
we
the
go.
project management role is very stock standard, like clearly defined. You're a project manager, you're opening new locations throughout the country. So the role I would step into, actually under my buddy who's the VP, is his territory is predominantly the West Coast, right? So Northern California, Southern California, and he's got some stuff in Pennsylvania. Um, so yeah, I know, right? It doesn't make any sense. But he's
I might
predominantly,
know why. I might know why.
yeah, is predominantly the West Coast
Yeah.
expansion. Um, so because this company is expanding into the West Coast. Right now, it's predominantly Northeast and East Coast. Um, so again, standard like managing vendors on the project a little bit more into the construction world, right? But like having my discussion with the senior VP, because I know him too, just from working with this company, which is, I probably should have led with that for people that don't know. The company I work for contracts with this company. So I know the whole department, right? Which is kind of part of the reason why I'm in the position I'm in, because with two different jobs to choose from, because as much as it sucks, the world is kind of about who you know. So talking to the senior VP, he was like, listen, it's a little bit different. It'll be a lot more challenging for you to like get a grasp of this role. He was like, you might be 6 to 9 months in and before you feel like comfortable doing what you're doing. But he goes, I have no concern that you can pull it off, right? He goes, it's just different from what you've ever done. So like
I have
building
a
out
lot
new
of concern.
locations, right?
I have
so
many concerns.
so building out new locations, there's like certain standards, right? They have like there needs to be certain power at each desk, like there needs to be an outlet every certain whatever, right? So it's like checking construction and electrical stuff that way, right? Making sure things make sense to their company's standards. Um, so again, very
Hopefully that shit's
clearly,
up to code too, because that stuff is a
well, yeah, it's working
fucking
with codes and permits,
pain in the
right? So
ass.
like filing for permits and like handling all that shit. So it's a lot
Can't
more
you fucking delegate that?
maybe, but so it's a lot more construction world, but a clearly defined role, job, everything. Like you're this is like the path to of like you're here for a certain time, you could move into the next role and move up and do this and that.
Okay.
That's all job number one, right?
Okay.
That's the project management job. Job number two, the relocation coordinator job, is basically the exact same job I do now for my company, but on the other company's side. And it would be a new role that they're creating because they've realized that they need someone to organize everything, which is funny because they need someone to like organize the shit my company is doing now, my current company.
This is
Um,
fucking insane, by the way.
and make sure that like everything is going the way it's supposed to all over the country, right? So it's like handling moves and what we call restacking, right? It's like some people move within the same building. So like moving into new buildings, expanding within the same building, shrinking within the same building, like doing whatever you need to do, but on that side of the house and like making sure everything stays organized um and basically being the point person for my current job. So like the people I work with now would report to me on this on if I took the relocation job, but I would be an internal to this company, right? To my client now. My client would become my company. And my current company would become my client. So the issue there, right, is um all of the moves, because this is like a functioning institution during the day, all of the move activity that we do for this client happens on off hours, right? So that's like Wednesday, Thursday, Friday nights, depending on how big the move is, but typically Thursday, Friday nights, and then Saturdays, right? So it's a few nights and weekends being on checkpoint calls, making sure things go well, the moves are happening the way they're supposed to. Basically, again, being the boss of my current company, right? Like holding my current company accountable for things that we're supposed to be doing. Um, but again, it's not a very clearly defined role, right? It's going to be kind of made up as we go. The senior vice president has an idea of what he would like the role to be, but he was like, you and I can work on that and kind of like craft it as we go. He goes, I'm not married to one certain thing. But he did say like there's a less defined role, right? And he goes, honestly, if there were no other openings, he goes, I would imagine you probably wouldn't want to be in that role any longer than like 3 or 4 years, just because like you would probably look for something to move on with. He goes, it's a great way to like get your foot in the door, come into this company, and like you would probably be able to move into a different department or somewhere else in properties if there was another opening with us. But he was like, I can't imagine that you would be thrilled doing this job 6 years from now, right? Like it's kind of like he's saying like you already know what you're doing, right? But he goes, so you could come into this job and run right from day one, right? There's no like ramp up time. It's like obviously you need to learn some things that we do, but like for the all intents and purposes, there's no ramp up time. You just hit the ground running. Um, but again, it's not a clearly defined role. There's really no like defined growth pattern. There is the nights and weekends aspect of things that still looms, um, but there's less involved travel. Or I would say it's a different kind of travel, right? Like it would be like if there was a high profile move going, I would go down for the move, right? So I would probably fly out on a Thursday and fly home on Tuesday versus the project management job. I'm dealing with construction guys, right? So I'd fly out on a Monday or Tuesday and I'd probably be back by Thursday, right? So it's like very stock standard there.
Mm.
So those are the two roles.
Fitness industry.
Yeah, that's I'm wearing the shirt. I'm coming back
Yeah.
to the fitness world. This is my LeBron moment. I'm gonna announce I'm coming back to
All right.
Evolution.
So here's where my head's at. I'm not going to give you a recommendation. I'm not going to tell you what I would do because I'm not a corporate guy. So I don't know that fucking answer. So on one end, you have the more traditional role,
Right.
which has I'm kind of repeating you because you said all those words about the stories and the other shit. Didn't matter. Uh, yeah, so you have like what would be a more traditional role with a path for growth and defined this, that, the other thing, and like other companies also have this position with probably a very similar path to success, whatever.
Right.
Then you got this other role, which sounds like it's something that they have realized that they need, but they don't really know what to do with it yet.
Right.
So, and I think I know what this company is,
Yeah, I'm pretty sure you
which
know who they
I think
are.
you mentioned it, which I won't say.
Yeah.
Um, so something, and because again, I'm not going to tell you, but some things that come to my mind, right? So typically or like, so right now we kind of don't know where the economy's at, right?
Right.
Like
Right.
it tanked on that Monday, kind of, not really, sort of
Yeah, and
like
like now it was back by Friday.
that's kind of like, but it's like, oh, see, here it is. It's like,
Yeah. Yeah.
here it is. Like I checked my Robinhood account. I'm like, yeah, I took a hit, but like, I don't know, man. Black Monday 2.0, like I feel like it should have been a lot worse than this.
Right. Right. Right.
Um, so that's a thing to consider, right? Like if you take
Right.
this undefined, new, no one's really sure what's going on here. If they need to start chopping people, who gets chopped first? The ones that
Exactly.
they don't see, so like the full remote people, and then it's the ones that are in departments where it's like, what are we doing here?
Right. Right.
And
Yeah.
it's like,
The
oh, it's really good
non
for X.
revenue generating.
Yeah, it's like, oh, it's really good for X, Y, and Z. And how many years did we operate as a company without that
Right.
department?
Right.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
And again, that's a relocation job. The other one is an expansion position. So if they're trying to expand,
Right.
relocations can be tough and a little less glamorous.
Yeah.
Um, and then the other thing too is it's like, okay, so money, I mean, money talks, I get that. But but the comp and I'm oversimplifying because again, fuck corporate, but if you're gonna be like a relocation person, you probably want to work for a relocation business, not a
Right. Which is what I do now.
I'm again making shit up, but like you don't want to work for a bakery or grocery store.
Right.
Like most
Right.
grocery stores get a site and fucking stay there for a shitload of time.
Right.
And again, same thing. It's like, oh, we're gonna work on relocation. It's like, dude, we bake bread. Like we can do this anywhere.
Yeah. Yeah.
So then, if the company is established and is looking to expand, then you would want to be on the expansion side. I feel like that's like the right side of history here.
Right. Yeah. And they are. They're purchasing a lot of other smaller companies in their industry right now.
So I mean, that's kind of like because this is the other thing is like it always like sounds good. It's like, well, you can like build the role into what you want it to be, and it's like,
Yeah.
no, I can't because I don't have that much control over this company.
Right.
I
Exactly.
am fucking like shitling number one over here,
Right. Right.
and like fucking head honcho numbers 1 through 26 are gonna fucking look at this and be like, yeah, this doesn't make sense. And number two goes, yep, I agree. And number three is like, yeah, I don't even know what the fuck this person is. And number four is like, we have a what?
Yeah.
Like, what do we need that for? And what do we hire that other company for?
Right. Right.
So, I mean, that's kind of where my head's at. I wouldn't, especially in the corporate, like, because that's the thing is like, I'm all for if someone wants to like take on a risk or like play to your strengths. Like, hey, you were a lawyer and now you're going to go from corporate to private and you're going to do some private lawyering and some consulting and you're going to run your own gig and rent your own office. Yeah, go for it, man. Like,
Right.
you'll probably take a pay cut at first, but the freedom you get in return is like almost immeasurable.
Right.
But we're saying corporate here, so it's like you almost have to fucking like Michael Bolton's entire catalog. Like you got to play the game and you have to go with like what
Right.
actually is and works.
Right.
And yeah, traveling California will fucking suck balls, but working Thursday,
Yeah.
Friday, Saturday sucks balls too.
Right. Right. And I mean, it's not like you're looking at, my buddy said, like on average, probably once every other month, taking a trip to the West Coast. He goes, obviously, when times are busy and they're getting ready to open new locations, they'll have to go out there a little bit more. But like on average, once every other month, right? So that means like,
That's 6 a year.
yeah, sometimes that
So
might
if
mean once a
that
month
could
for
also
three
mean,
straight months, right? But
yeah, that
that
could,
might
yeah,
mean none for 3 straight months, right?
yeah.
Like that's how averages work, right?
Yeah, you could go 6 times in the first fucking quarter and then, not.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, I mean, and then the other thing too is like because other industries also have that position and you're kind of blending industries too, it gives you the opportunity to move if you want to
right,
or
right.
stay or whatever.
Yeah, yeah. And that's what one of my buddies said too, was since he's been taking trips out to California, he's met, like, there's an owner of like an architectural firm that's out there. And he's like, I just played golf with him last week and like we hung out and while I was out there. So like now I know the owner of this architectural firm in like Northern California. He goes, you just meet people, like you're able to just kind of figure out who the important people are and just kind of rub elbows and kind of go from there. And he was like, he goes, I don't have any plans on leaving, but like if I needed to, right, for whatever reason, he goes, now I have more people that I know. Right. And that's basically how I'm in the position now for this one of two jobs, right? Is my job now, this company is a client of mine, right? I've worked with them frequently in the past. They like the work that I've done and they sought me out to apply for one role. And in that process, they were like, hey, we have another role too. You might be interested, right? Like I wouldn't be in that position if I wasn't in this position, right? Like that's how that shit works.
Yeah. I mean, it sounds like an easy one for me.
Yeah. Plus the new company's in Rhode Island and it's like 20 minutes from my house. So I wouldn't have to drive into Cambridge anymore.
Oh, you can't miss out on that.
Yeah, I'm gonna need you guys to open an office in Cambridge.
Yeah, expand. Yeah, get your construction, build something in Cambridge.
Yeah,
There's got to be
yeah,
plenty of space to
yeah. There's
build.
plenty of space in Cambridge for new stuff. It's wide open everywhere.
Yeah, tons of space.
So I'm like I said, I have my decision 99.9% made. I just gotta, you know, send him the text. Um, but I am, going to go with the project management role. Again, just because it's more defined, it's working on a team with other people, right? Like, so, and it's different, right? It's something new. I like different. So there we have that. Um, Changing gears here. We talked a little bit um previously, maybe like 2 weeks ago, probably in the middle of like the crazy political atmosphere about how like, oh, I just want football, but then at the same time, like training camp talk is like too much or whatever. So I'm gonna go back. I'm gonna keep flip-flopping on this because fuck off. It's my show. You don't like it, don't listen. Not many people do, so you're not gonna hurt my feelings. Um, so I actually sent this to our Twitter group. But Greg Bedard was on Felger and Maz today on the Sports Hub, and it was just a quick clip. It was probably like a minute and 20 seconds, but it was basically, I'm going to paraphrase. It was Greg Bedard, who covers the team, right? If you don't know that, saying he is deeply concerned about the path that the New England Patriots have decided to move forward with this offense because the offensive line is so terrible that he does not understand why this team did nothing for the offensive line. So I would like to go back to probably February, right? I will not go back and read the tapes, but I do know that we had this conversation probably February or March, right? I went on this big long rant. I don't want them to draft Drake May, just draft Marvin Harrison, right? Then you made the point about what's the point in drafting the wide receiver when you don't have a quarterback, and then you also made the point about the terrible offensive line. So I was like, okay, well, then if you don't want to take Marvin Harrison, I want Joe Alt. Draft Joe Alt at number 3. He is the most non-miss prospect in the entire draft. Every single draft pundit, right, was on the same page that Joe Alt is the safest pick in the entire draft. Everyone had upside, downside. Caleb Williams could be Michael Vick, or he could be Baker Mayfield, right? Like Drake May could be Josh Allen, or he could be Josh McCown, right? Like everyone was pretty sure Marvin Harrison was going to be a Hall of Famer, but like you never know, right? You never know with wide receivers. Who knows? Every single person was like, Joe Alt is the dude. He is going to be a franchise left tackle for any team that drafts him. Zero doubts about it. So I was all over the Joe Alt train. Let's draft the left tackle. Let's get the franchise left tackle. Let's worry about quarterback once we have an offensive line. And I said on this podcast, I do not want them to draft Drake May, which means they're going to draft Drake May. And of course, what did they do in April? They drafted Drake May. So here we are, fast forward all the way to the middle of August. And a guy that's job is to cover this team said that the offensive line is so god awful that he does not know how this offense is supposed to function. Because regardless of if it's Drake May or Jacoby Brissett or Pat Mahomes, right? There is not an offensive line capable of protecting the quarterback on this team, which I will also say you have said multiple times. Team doesn't have a left tackle. They do not have a left tackle. The second most important position on an NFL football team, left tackle. Number 1, without a doubt, is quarterback. Number 2, it's arguable, but I would say number 2, it's left tackle. This team does not have a left tackle on the roster. On the entire roster, they don't have one. So
Yeah.
now here we
Yeah,
are.
they drafted a guy that like maybe could be one.
Yeah, in like the 5th round.
Yeah, he wasn't even the first offensive lineman they drafted.
Yeah.
I don't think. If I have my positions correct because I couldn't tell you either of their names. Is Caden Wallace a guy? Is that a
Yeah,
real player?
Caden Wallace is the left tackle
Okay.
that they drafted in the 5th
So
round.
who'd they draft? They drafted someone before him,
Yeah, probably.
and the guy was like, I don't know, kind of like a swing because everyone was like, "Oh, this Okorafor guy, he'll be the left tackle." I'm like,
Yeah,
he was a
Chucks.
right
Oh, it's
tackle.
Chucks Okorafor.
He was
He
a
was,
right tackle that got benched,
yeah, he was a right tackle his whole career.
and he got benched and cut. Pretty good, huh?
Layden Robinson.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. So Caden Wallace
So
was the
Caden Wallace
third
was a
round
third
pick,
round pick. I thought he was
and
a 5th
Layden
round pick.
Robinson was the guy who went after him.
Yeah, he's a
Okay.
guard. He's a right guard. So this is
Okay.
pretty funny because right now on our lads, so this isn't the official, like it's not the Patriots.com depth chart, but on our lads, which I prefer, they have Caden Wallace as the left tackle. So starting from left tackle to right tackle, it's Caden Wallace, City So, David Andrews, Mike Nwenu, and then Chuck Okorafor. So wouldn't you know?
Pretty awesome.
And Wenu is back to right guard. And the guy that they were like, oh no, he can play left tackle is now at right tackle. And the rookie that they drafted in the 3rd round is going to play left tackle. And City So, well, I guess City So is only at left guard because Cole Strange is on the pup.
Okay. Because I was
But
going to
Cole
say that
Strange was a 1st round
I would
pick
say there's a name you haven't mentioned
last
yet.
year. And he's not a starter, but he's on the pup list. So,
So bad, dude.
yeah.
This is it. Like, this is why, like, I'm.
Oh, so the other thing about Caden Wallace, too. Here, I'll read you real quick his quick bio from Penn State.
Oh, God. This is going to be like.
4
Not the
year
best
starter.
athlete, doesn't have the biggest size.
4 year starter. So he's 6'5", 315 pounds.
Okay, he's got that at least. Thank God.
4 year starter, all Big Ten in 2023.
Okay.
This is my
That's
favorite
not the worst thing in the
line,
world.
and I will not read anything further than this line. Has played all but 6 of his snaps at right tackle in his career at Penn State.
Good. That's good. That's actually how you develop a rookie quarterback.
Yeah.
Is you make sure that there's a fucking turnstile on his blind side so that maybe he'll eat out of a feeding tube.
Yep.
By week 6. Because the other thing too is like, oh, well, people like Drake May might not even play this year. You draft a guy 3rd overall and he ain't gonna play.
Yeah.
Bob Kraft's gonna say, yeah, sure, just don't play him. 3rd overall, and you're gonna sit him for 3 years like Jordan Love.
Yeah.
Bob Kraft is not gonna allow that to happen.
No.
So
So my statement stands. You don't have a left tackle on the team
I've been saying that for a long time
because
I think
Caden Wallace was a 4 year starter at right tackle at Penn State.
I think you tried to display some optimism that like would they win 4 games last
easy
year?
using that word.
Yeah, well, this is why I almost fucking like called you and was like, "What the fuck are you even talking about?" It was in like the Twitter group. It's like, what did they win 4 games last year?
Yes, 4-13.
So they were 4-13, and you're thinking, and I'm gonna paraphrase. It wasn't 100%, so don't take it as like this is exactly what you said because it's not. But it was something along the lines of like, "Hey, the defense is good enough."
Yeah, I think I said they could get 6 wins.
And it was something like that, and I'm just like, I ain't seeing it. They do not have an off, and that's the thing. I go, my only argument is they don't have an offensive line. That's where I begin and end my argument.
Right. Right.
But that's because any team that's had any level of success, even moderately recently, no one's gotten there without an offensive line.
Right. Right.
And like, who perpetually has like one of the best offensive lines lately?
Detroit.
The 49ers.
Yeah, the 49ers. Yeah.
And Detroit last year had the best.
Right.
They make Jared Goff look like a fucking competent quarterback.
Yeah. Yeah. It's pretty wild.
It's impressive.
Yeah.
And the Sewell draft, that might have been last year, 23. Penei Sewell.
Yeah.
Doesn't, whatever.
I think it
Some
was
people looked
23.
at it was like Penei Sewell, and people looked at it and go, well, you might not need him. You might look for a different need. Nope, they took him.
Yep.
And in that year or the year later, because I forget if he was 22 or 23, it doesn't matter. They went on a run. Should have probably won that NFC Championship game. I kind of forget how they pissed it away. Um,
The defense was bad. They had no
yeah, secondary
secondary.
sucked.
Their secondary is fucking trash.
I think they drafted for that, but yeah, so they just literally couldn't stop a nosebleed, I think, is
Yeah.
how they ended up losing that game.
Yeah, they were the 2011 Patriots.
Ugh.
Great offense, but fucking Earthwind Moreland at fucking corner.
Literally, statistically, the worst.
Ross Ventrone.
You know what's funny is if you like actually go back, I believe there were skillful players on that defense, but like McCourty was out of position, so he wasn't very good.
Right.
I think James Sanders may have still been a safety, which is problematic.
Yeah.
The Big Bang clock might have still been there. And then it's like probably like the fucking likes of Kyle Harrington and shit like that. Oh, and Talib got hurt.
Yep.
Yeah, so it wasn't pretty.
No.
Ellis Hobbs might have still been kicking around. Um, but yeah, you like it's amazing when these teams quote unquote come out of nowhere. What do they always have? Good offensive
Offensive
linemen.
line. Yep.
And now you need them to generally stay healthy too, but it's really amazing because offensive line is something that's like really hard to grade because um it's like how do you really determine if someone is a really good offensive lineman? And it's like, well, how many sacks do they give up? It's like maybe not a lot, but maybe they always had help. I don't know. Like
Right.
it's hard to say and it's not clear. Like it's not 12 touchdowns, 1,500 yards receiving, and caught 112 balls. Like
Right.
it's started 16 games, and that's their stat line. And then
Yep.
some sites will have, how many penalties did they have? How many snaps like what percent of the snaps did they play? They'll have some stuff like that. So it's harder to figure out like who these good offensive lines are. Um, yeah, it's no accident like what these teams are.
Right.
Ravens, they've been good for the last like whatever years.
Right.
Their offensive line is good.
They
The
always have a
Steelers
good
have
O line.
not been as good as they had been for the 15 years before that.
Right. And they've had a trash offensive line.
Because and all those guys moved on, like
Right.
Pouncey, Ramon Foster. Like I don't even know who Ramon Foster is, but he was there every fucking year.
Yeah. Alejandro Villanueva. Right.
Every
Like,
fucking year.
yeah.
Like these guys were just on that fucking roster every single year.
Yep. Yep.
And even here, for long periods of time, you would have at least some continuity.
Right. I mean, from like outside of any year that had like a weird injury from 2000 to 2017, we probably had three left tackles.
I mean, it was probably
It was
Matt
Matt
Light right
Light,
into Nate Solder.
Nate Solder,
That was probably it.
and then whoever came in after Nate
Trent
Solder.
Brown came in for the 2018
That's
Super
right,
Bowl.
Trent Brown. Yeah.
That was it.
So for 17 years, you had three left tackles.
But like, and that's the thing. Like Dan Connolly was on this team forever. Dan Copen was
Right.
on this team forever.
Right. For center, right?
Mankins until they sent him out.
It went Dan Copen to Brian Stork, who was a stud and then retired because his brain turned to mush.
Yes, mush.
And then to David Andrews. So
Yep.
for again, it might be even longer for center, right? I think center. I know David Andrews has had some injuries lately, so
He was 2016.
but for the last like 20 years, right? You've had three centers.
Yeah, and then but even like on the right side of the ball, like you had like four right tackles in like 20 years or something. It was like Kazir, it was Volmer, it was Shaq Mason at guard, like
Right. And then it's been Awenu for the last 4 years, 5 years.
2000, 2020. Oh my God, 2020.
Yeah, 2020.
The one with ends with zero.
Yeah.
That happened this fucking decade. Yeah, they suck, dude.
Yeah.
And that's the thing is like Ian Mack, sup Ian, on his podcast was like, I hope you fucking Patriots fans have to sit there and watch them fucking suck. And I go, listen, red zone's fucking around the
Yeah,
country. It'll
yeah,
be a
yeah.
big red zone year.
Yep, yep. As it was last year.
Yeah,
The Patriots will go on the tablet, and then Red Zone goes on the big TV.
yeah. And and like some people will be like, it's like, oh, you got to watch the game. I'm like, not when Scott Hansen has every game coming at me every 4 seconds. Like, not only am I retarded, like
Yeah,
that fits my personality a lot better. I got bets going on. Like,
yeah,
I don't have time. I don't have time for this shit.
yeah. I don't have time to watch the Patriots lose like, they wouldn't
And
lose 37-6, but they might lose like 21-3, right?
if I thought
Because the
that this
defense is good.
offseason, if I thought that this offseason, no, I will watch. Don't get me wrong. Like,
Yeah,
the way I usually do it is I usually watch until the game is either out of reach or too frustrating, and then I
right,
switch to red zone. So that's how
right.
I actually operate.
Yeah,
And
same, same.
if that makes me not a real fan, I don't really give a fuck what you think because on a Sunday afternoon, my entertainment is the only thing that matters, not my fucking like pure fandom. Like
Right, right.
I don't fucking care.
Yeah.
And
I'm
that's
not
the
going to
other
sit
thing.
there and watch a shit product
And that's the other thing too
when
is like
there's good football on.
every time we've gone to an away game too, it's like yes, we are Patriots fans, but outside of fucking Vinny, we don't like we live in the fucking real world. Like if you want to have an actual conversation about an actual team, like we can do that.
Right, 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 right.
And sometimes you're in Nashville and you motherfuck the punter, but who cares?
Yeah, hey, whatever. It happens.
Fucking Ryan Allen.
This guy fucking sucks.
You shit talking the punter? Sure am.
Yep.
But that's the thing. The thing that's pissing me off is I'm just an idiot over here. Like I'm nobody.
Yeah,
And I saw what this team needed going into the season. They not only didn't address it, refused to address it. They didn't sign anyone. They signed a right
right.
tackle that got cut. They drafted a guy in the third round that was they drafted a right tackle.
They drafted a right tackle. Yeah.
And then they drafted a guard.
Yep.
And they're gonna ask him to play left. Like, you didn't do your job. Like, you didn't do what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to field a fucking competitive team with NFL players that play the positions on the field. You didn't
Right.
do it.
Right. Right.
That would be like saying instead of running back, we're just going to put Keon White and fucking Jalen Polk back there. It's like one's a D end and one's a receiver. Yeah, but they can both run, right? Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Oh, Keon White's going to play fullback sometimes. Why? He's a D end. Let
Yeah.
him play D end. He
Right.
barely played D end last year, and when he did, he was a freak.
Right. Right.
Why the fuck is he playing fullback? And that's the other thing. Is Van Pelt going to use a fullback? Because if he's going to
Uh,
use a fullback,
yeah, I don't know.
you should have fucking signed one.
I don't know. I don't
I don't
know
think
if
Cleveland
Cleveland
had.
used a fullback. Well, I mean, they also didn't need one because they had Nick Chubb.
Yeah.
Oh, and don't forget, they also had an offensive line.
Yeah, that was another one.
Yeah.
They were one of those
Cleveland
Cleveland out of
offensive
nowhere,
line
huh?
was,
It's like no, they drafted offensive linemen for fucking ever.
yeah. Yeah. Let me see if I can actually.
Well, that's and so just it is nice to know that, there are certain people that get paid by the Patriots to be in personnel in the front office and coaching staff. And then there's people that get paid to cover the team. Yet you could have just listened to me earlier in the year before the draft.
Yeah,
And I fucking had it first. I'm sorry.
you did. That you did.
Because this is the thing
Um,
now. So Jalen Polk's like second round pick. Like some people think it might have been a little high. Some people are a little excited about the player. Some people say he looks good. Javon Baker might look good too. Pop Douglas is getting healthy. It's not going to matter because the ball isn't getting to any of those three guys because your quarterback's getting fucking killed.
right. Right.
I know it's just like a joint practice. I know it's with the Eagles, but 20% of the time he was getting sacked.
Yeah.
20% of the time. And actually, it was over 20% of the time. It wasn't 20.00. I think it was
Yeah. It was
20.8.
20.8. Yeah. So 21% of the time.
Quarterback's getting sacked.
Yeah.
1 in 5 plays.
1 out of every 5 plays, your quarterback got sacked.
It means every other 3 and out will result in a sack.
Yeah.
And you thought the offense was anemic last year?
Yeah.
Good fucking luck.
Yeah. Yeah. It's not great. So I looked it up. The Browns offensive line isn't good this year. Or at least I don't really know a lot of these people. Like Jedrick Willis, I think is fine at left tackle. I know Joel Batonio is very good. He's the left guard. Ethan Pochich, don't know anything about him. I know Wyatt Teller is pretty good at right guard. And then Jack Conklin at right tackle has been good in the past, but he's kind of been dealing with some injuries later on in his career. But actually, I take that back because they've had the exact same offensive line for 3 seasons in a row. I just went back to their roster in what, November of 2022. It's the same 5 guys. Jedrick Willis, Joel Batonio, Ethan Pochich, Wyatt Teller, Jack Conklin. So
That's so weird.
for a minimum of 3 straight seasons, they've had the exact same starting offensive line.
Oh man, it came out of nowhere last year though.
Yeah, yeah, came out of nowhere. Yeah,
Oh, but their defense was so good at home and so shitty on the road. It evened out. That's why they were so good.
yeah. And I just went back to 2021. They had the same 4. They had a different center. JC Treader was their center, but they had Jedrick Willis, Joel Batonio, Wyatt Teller, and Jack Conklin.
So weird.
So they've had almost the exact same offensive line for the last 5 seasons.
It's odd.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah. Weird how that works, right? Oh, but Van Pelt's going to run the ball. Okay. Well,
What other
you still
option does he
need
have?
you still need offensive linemen who can block, right? Like,
Well, I mean, he can't throw it.
yeah. But then you run into the problem that we had last year, right? And a little bit too with the Cam Newton year was the teams know you're going to run the ball. So they're going to put 8 guys in the box and say, okay, throw it.
You could probably do that anyway.
Yeah.
Like if I was a defensive coordinator, I would sit there and I would go, I am looking at your offensive line. And like, your right side's okay. Like, okay. I'll just put
Yeah.
a fast guy and have him run around
Yeah.
the right tackle. You did
Yeah.
not put an NFL left side in play. I'm just gonna fucking make you look stupid for doing that.
Yeah.
That's it. Like you don't need to, that's the thing is like there are times where a defensive coordinator really needs to strategize and really needs to think and game plan and find something or decide something and gamble, win some, lose some, whatever. This one's easy. Sit there and go, yeah, fine. If Drake May is gonna throw for 300 on us, that I'll lose, I guess. And that's it. Like I don't think he can do it.
Yeah.
And even if he's physically capable of, I don't think he'll have enough time to.
Right.
Especially if it's a team with a decent right defensive end or a edge guy.
Yeah. So, I mean, to open the season, they're at Cincinnati, right? They have what, Sam Hubbard, and someone else. I feel like they have someone else that's pretty good too. The Seahawks, don't they have Frank Clark now after he left
Um,
the
Maybe
Chiefs? The
Bruce
Jets,
Irvin still playing for them.
Bruce Irvin, he might have come back actually. He was on the Raiders for a little while. Um, the Jets, yeah, good luck, dude. The Jets have probably a better defense
They have a few.
than
They have a
the
few, man.
Patriots do. The 49ers, yeah, where do you think Nick Bosa is going to be lining up?
They have to
On
play the 49ers this year.
Oh yeah, week 4 at San Francisco too.
Is there a look ahead line on that?
-11. Dolphins have a pretty good defense. I don't know anything about their front four, but I know their defense as a whole was pretty good last year. Although they did lose Christian Wilkins. I think they have some other guys there. Are the Texans in week 6? Will Anderson, where do you think he's going to line up?
Dude, San Francisco's only laying 11.5.
Yeah, I was almost right on the money.
Can I take that now?
Yeah, can I pound that now? Will DraftKings give me that now?
I don't know where
Do
you
they?
have to get this now.
I wonder if my bookie would have it like for the whole season.
Yeah, I
They're
mean,
definitely
lines
going to
are
yank
out.
it at some point.
Well, that's the thing is like you have to bet it before the season starts
Right,
because all these numbers will go away.
right. What did I say? September 29th. Oh, so DraftKings does have it actually.
Are you seeing 11.5?
I'm scrolling looking for it right now. Yeah, it's 11 and a half on DraftKings.
Something to consider.
Yeah, just take it right now.
Bengals, 8.5. That's fucking hilarious.
Yeah. So Patriots suck. Uh, what else we got here? I don't know. You want to wrap this up? Or
We
you
can
got
wrap
anything
this up.
else you want to go?
No, we can wrap this up. I don't know anything that's going on anything
Yeah.
anyway. And part of why I don't know what's going on. So I already bragged about my club championship, generational
Yes.
ball striking.
Yes, you did.
So I played at New Seabury yesterday in a tour event and uh managed to win. I shot 4 over.
No big deal.
No big deal. Uh on a course that I played it 3 years ago. I didn't really remember it much. I mean, I probably ranted about it before, but it's like, yeah, the front nine's near the water. After that, it's just like in the woods, like a regular cave course. Uh, but I don't know what it was like here. Boy, was it windy. So like even on the back, that's not near the water. I had to hit driver hybrid into a par 4.
Yeah.
When we made the turn, because it's the front nine, but we started on 10, 30, 35-yard wind.
Wow.
Like the first hole was par 5. I hit driver 5 iron, 8 iron into like 500-yard hole.
Jesus.
Like that should cover if I hit all of those balls like average, that should cover like 580, 590.
Yeah.
Second hole, I hit driver 5 wood. I hit a 5 wood from 180. That's like legit 35, maybe 40 yards of wind.
Yeah.
Next hole, had to lay up off my approach. I had 190 from the rough and I just couldn't get there because I couldn't hit a 5 wood or a hybrid out of the rough.
Right. 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 Right.
So I had to hit a 5 iron and I couldn't reach. Came up 30 yards short from
Wow.
193. Like stupid, stupid ass wind.
That's some pretty legit wind.
But it kind of got me thinking that with the places that I've gotten to play, I really haven't gotten buried by conditions too often. Now, nothing will be as bad as in 2022 when I played at Plymouth Country Club and I think it was like hurricane or hurricane-ish. Like we were getting gusts of like fucking 40, 45. Like it felt like you hit a ball into the wind and it would fucking come back at you. Like it was crazy.
Yeah.
And like someone managed to shoot like 3 over. And I'm like, how the fuck did you do that?
Yeah.
Like I have no idea. Like multiple par 4s I couldn't reach. Like from the fairway I couldn't reach. And I'm like, this
Yeah.
is just fucking crazy. Um, but yeah, between any course on the water, Eastward Ho, and I've played Pebble, like the ocean course, we were first off, no wind. Like I didn't get conditions either time I played at Eastward Ho. Like a little bit of wind, yes. Pebble, a little bit of wind, fine. Ocean course was like nothing. And I'm sitting there, I'm like, yeah, man, I've gotten like super lucky on that front. And then like people always talk about like going to Ireland or Scotland. I'm like, fuck, that's a lot to
Yeah.
play. Like I was like that. This is a lot of work right now.
Did you have
And,
any holes with a tailwind?
yeah. So this is where things actually got interesting because the first par three we played, which is the furthest from the clubhouse, so theoretically it gets the most wind.
Mhm.
I ended up getting like 30 yards of help.
Wow.
It was like 195. I hit a 7 iron like 160, 162,
Yeah.
and I hit it over the green.
Oh, wow.
And then so like I ended up chipping it up and hitting it close fine. But then the next hole I had like a wedge with wind helping. So I'm like, all right, well let me like let the wind kind of take it. It did. It was a weird green, so it took it away from me. Then I had to play into the wind again.
Yeah.
But the last three holes coming back, they're all into the wind. So it's like on the seventh hole, I hit driver. I hit it like 320, like not even hard.
Yeah.
But then it leaves me a weird shot because like 85 yards is normally like a full 60,
Yeah.
but I'm in the rough. It's a front pin.
Yep.
So I end up like kind of leaving it short. But then now we're chipping from close,
Right.
downwind, front pin, whatever. So it's like I couldn't really stop the chip. It just kind of ran through.
Right. Right.
So I ended up
Right.
like bogeying the hole. Then the next hole was like, again, it's a downhill or a downwind par three. So I'm thinking, I'm like, well, the last hole was like 30 fucking yards. So
Yeah.
I'm like, even if I give this one like 20,
Yeah.
so I tried to give it like 20, that wasn't enough. So it didn't get there.
Yep.
Had to hit a sand shot, like, fine. And then like the ninth hole was downwind again. It was 100. So I hit what I thought would be like 80, landed short. So it's like I had a really tough time. And then it's like I chipped it up and didn't hit the putt fine. I think I lipped it out, but into the wind was I was unbelievable. Like I played everything
Yeah.
fucking perfect. And then when the wind was helping, it's like it gives you just that much uncertainty that you kind of
Right.
don't really know what to do.
Right.
And it's like into the wind, you know it has to get there. You're like, you're swinging. Like there is
Right.
no whatever. But like when it's helping, it's like you kind of lay off it. So yeah, downwind was tough. I ended up like, I think I bogeyed all three of those. I think I bogeyed four of the holes downwind.
Oh, wow.
Like it didn't help me at all.
Yeah.
Or it helped me off the tee, but it didn't help making my approaches. And that's the other
Right.
hard part is like if it's a front pin, generally you can't like bounce it up there. Usually trouble. You usually is like bunker short. That's
Right.
generally kind of like how most golf courses work. And it's like those fringes and those like those hills up to greens, they're usually not like firm enough. So if you don't hit it hard enough, they don't bounce. So it ends up being like I actually struggled more with the downwind holes than the into the wind holes. Now into the wind, it was just like almost like trusting that this
Yeah.
isn't too much club, I guess. I don't
Right.
know.
Right.
Yeah,
But yeah, I mean, like you
180.
said too, you swing a lot freer into the wind because you know, like, even if you don't hit it that great, it's probably going to come up short anyway. So, like, just fucking go for it.
Yeah,
But
you're pretty
like
much keeping it. And
downwind,
that's the
you're like, man, if
fear.
I crush this, like, fuck, it could be in some trouble. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? Like,
the concern when you're into the wind is coming up short, but short mean is usually what you can still see. It's usually keeping the ball in front of you. It doesn't
right,
seem as concerning.
right,
Downwind, the fear is always long, which you usually can't see, and long's always usually much more problematic than short.
right, right.
A little bit of the unknown. So,
Yeah, yeah,
but yeah, I mean, we got new Seabury for everything that it was. Like
nice.
ball was oscillating on the green.
Oh, wow.
I put a mark down, the ball fucking blew back at me. Like if this was like a sanctioned tournament, you would have had to have considered those greens unplayable. Like it
Yeah,
would have been close because there were spots where the ball would not have stopped. Like if you like put the ball down after marking, the
Yeah.
ball would have blown back in a couple spots.
Oh wow. Yeah, that's kind of nuts.
Yeah. But it was like that for the first 3 holes dead into the wind.
Yeah. I don't think I don't think I've ever played in anything like that. Like I played
You've
in the
only played in it
rain.
twice.
I played in the rain. I've played in wind, right? Like I've had some
Yeah.
wind, maybe 20, 30 gust, right? Like
I've played
gusts of
I've played
30.
in I've played in wind this hard twice.
Yeah. But I've never played in
In
like sustained like 30-mile-an-hour plus winds.
one was in yeah, and that's the thing is like one of the times I played was like a legit fucking storm.
Yeah.
Was like on the horizon or something.
Yeah.
And this was just like Monday.
Yeah, no big deal. You just won
No,
the
I think
tournament.
yeah, and then ultimately I won. So credit to myself.
Yeah. What'd you get? Did you get
I
pro
don't know.
shop?
It'll
What do you
be
get? Pro shop credit or whatever?
no this one. So this one you get money on your account
Okay.
because you do have to pay for the tournament. So I'll get credited on my account. So this event will be
Oh, is this through
free.
the tour?
Yep,
Yeah.
this event will be free, and then it was kind of a big field. So my next event might be free too.
Okay.
Um, I also won 2 skins. So between my winnings and the skins, I don't think it'll get me 3 events. I think it'll probably get me 2 and then part of
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
the third, which that's all I'm playing this for the rest of the year. So
Yeah. Well, that's pretty good.
yeah, or it would just go against my fee next year. Like it doesn't go anywhere. But
Right. Right.
a couple weeks ago I played and I got a closest to the pin and they got a dozen balls for it. I'm like, that's way better than like the fucking $25 or whatever you were giving out.
Yeah, I know, right?
And I thought it was going to be pro shop because that's what the email said. He goes, "Oh, the net prize is a pro shop." I'm like, "So gross isn't?" He goes, "Nope." I go, "Cool."
Yeah. All right. Sweet. I'll
Oh,
take it.
I haven't done it yet. I go, "Don't worry about it, man. I'm going to be up there."
Yeah. Yeah, you're good. Don't worry.
Well, the thing is coming off. I because well, first of all, we were the last group. I'm like, I know that score is going to be good.
Right.
I go, I don't know how good, but I know who's in this field, and I go, that was pretty good.
Yeah. Yeah. Nice. Uh all right. My final thought is kind of it'll be kind of a quick one, but so this past weekend was tax-free weekend in Massachusetts. So I don't know about you, but I got like a million fucking emails from all these different companies like, oh, celebrate tax-free weekend, come buy some shit and buy all this stuff, whatever. So I feel like we may have talked about this. I mean, we've been doing this for fucking 5 years now, so I'm sure we've ranted on tax-free weekend at some point. But I did the math right on it over the weekend because I was like, oh, like there's a BJ's has a shed because I've succumbed to the fact that I'm not going to get a nice shed. Like years ago, when we were going to do renovations on the house, I was also going to buy a shed, right? And at that time, it was probably like 6 grand. And I was like, oh, I don't know if I really want to spend 6 grand. Like there was all those things that popped up when we were doing the house, like the renovations. And it was like, all right, well, I got to spend more money on this. And, we didn't end up having enough money to finish the attic or redo the second floor bathroom. So I was like, all right, I'm not really going to spend the 6 grand for a shed. Like 4 or 5 months ago, I went and looked at the exact same shed from Reed's Ferry. It's like 8 grand now, like over 8 grand. I think it was 8,200. So just through inflation and just whatever is like, right. Like it's just ridiculous. So like I've succumbed to the fact that I'm not going to get a nice shed. Right. So I'm like, whatever, but I do want
Dude,
a
let's
shed.
let's build one like I was going to build in Mansfield.
Yeah.
We just need like 80 pallets or something. I forget how many.
Yeah. Yeah. It's just 80 pallets. It's no big
I think
deal.
that's it.
Um, so BJ's has a shed. It's an 8 by 10. and it's like a sun cast, you know what I mean? Almost like a Rubbermaid style, right? Where it's like double walled plastic. I don't need anything fucking fancy, right? Again, I've resigned myself to the fact that like I just need somewhere that's covered to put my snowblower. And then like we got like rakes and fucking shovels and shit in the basement that like I just don't want to have in the basement anymore. Like I want more space. So there's an 8x10 shed. Um, BJ's had it. It was marked down to $1,000. I think it was originally like 12 or $1,300. They marked it down to $999, and they were like, "Oh, tax-free weekend. Like, come buy some stuff." Like in their email, they were like, "Oh, look at this shed. It's already been
The
marked
resin
down."
shed, is that the
Yeah. Resin, I think, is the technical term for it.
yeah.
Um, Again, I really just need somewhere to keep my snowblower and shovels and rakes, right? Again, it doesn't need to be fancy. It's not gonna turn into a man cave where I need to like run electricity to it. It's not a fucking garage. It's not anything. Again, it's just a shed, right? So I'm like, oh, maybe I'll go buy it on tax-free weekend. Like I'll save a bunch of money. So I go, oh, just out of curiosity, how much money am I going to save? So I did some quick math and I go, huh, that's $60. I go, if I'm going to spend $1,000, what the fuck is $60 that I'm going to save? Right? Like, is it annoying to have to spend the extra $60? Yeah, sure, whatever. But like, you're already spending 1,000. What's an extra $60? So ultimately, I didn't buy the shed, right? Because I was like, I'm not actually going to save that much money. So I'll wait, right? And I'll buy the shed when I can save a little bit more. Like it would have been a little bit of a stretch for me to just go drop $1,000 like on a whim, right? So I'll actually save a little bit more over the next few weeks and I'll get it eventually, right? So then I look more into the tax-free weekend stuff. They cap the tax-free title, whatever you want to call it, at $2,500. So again, $2,500. Do some quick math times 0.0625, right? Because sales tax in Massachusetts is 6.25%. That is $156.25. So any purchase that's over $2,500 does not qualify for tax free. So at maximum, you buy something that's $2,500, you're saving $156.25. Again, in a vacuum, it is if I told you you could save $156 on a purchase, you'd probably be like, yeah, it sounds like a good deal. But then if I told you, oh, well, that purchase is going to cost you $2,500, you'd probably be like, well, I mean, if I'm already going to spend $2,500, like what's $150? Like, is that really going to break the bank? Right? Like, it's a big purchase, right? $2,500 is a big purchase. I'm going to save $150. Like, whoop de fucking do, right? Like, it doesn't matter. So then I was like, I think tax free holiday is a fucking joke. Tax free weekend, like, it's nothing special. You don't really save that much money because they cap you on your purchases. Now, I will say, if I had known when it was coming and prepared better, I probably would have bought the shed. And I think I may start actually seeking this out more so as a way for me to stick a middle finger to the state of Massachusetts, right? So like I want to buy stuff on tax-free weekend, not because I want to save money, but because I don't want to give money to the state of Massachusetts. So
Why, dude? What's wrong with
I want to
Massachusetts?
I want to do it to be a dick. Big surprise.
Yeah,
But like,
personally, I'm shocked.
yeah. But in and of
I can't
itself,
believe you would do such a thing.
I don't think tax-free weekend is like all it's cracked up to be.
Dude, Costco has a resin cabana bar that you can buy.
How much is it?
2 grand.
Geez, you got to buy it. You have space for one now.
You gotta think about this.
Yeah.
But yeah, I looked up like what Costco had. It's same thing, same
Yeah.
shit.
Yeah.
Um, or effectively the same shit. That looks
Yeah.
like a pain in the ass to build, but dude, it's like so it's got obviously it has a door. It's got 2 windows. Um, the where the bar top is, the big window opens up almost like the concession stand.
Oh, wow.
This thing's fucking sick.
Yeah. You might have to buy it.
I might have to.
That might be the first purchase for the new house.
Won't be.
The
That
second.
won't be.
The second.
Probably won't be that either. Well, dude, we're not moving in until like October
Well,
sometime.
yeah,
So
yeah, I know. I know.
I think the first purchase might be sent. Well, outside of like fucking, I don't even know what fucking spackle or some shit. But like outside
Yeah.
of like something like that,
Yeah.
it's probably gonna be Central Air.
Yeah, central air would be nice.
Yep.
That's one of those things we didn't have enough money for when we renovated the house.
Well, luckily we're not gutting a house.
True. True. That's true. You're just purchasing one.
We're just purchasing one and then improving it as we see fit.
Yeah. Yeah. So also not really worth it, as I've covered in a previous episode with North Attleboro being municipal, right? I could spend 15 plus grand, anywhere between 15 to 20 grand to put central air in my house, and the town will give me $1,000, right? It's like if we were on the mass save program, if we were eligible through National Grid or whatever, like they would actually pay for a majority of that, like 20 grand, not the town's like, oh yeah, here's $1,000.
Don't let them fool you though, because I did have my contractor quote me on Windows,
Yeah.
which I'm still waiting.
Mhm.
And
Telling you,
the
Dan Murphy, right window, friend of the show.
listen,
He's been
I
on.
gotta see what our man comes back with.
Yeah.
This is the other thing is like the contractor's gonna be doing like most of the work, so
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
not gonna fucking.
50-year warranty.
That's what he's got. Dude, it's all like so. This is the thing is ultimately it's all gonna be the same shit. Like I was talking to a
Right.
guy today. He goes, "Oh yeah, actually." So he offered me window A and window B. We went with window B, and I'm like, "Wait, what did you say? Window A was? Oh, I'm sorry. Like window A was
Yeah.
like Marvin, whatever." I go,
Yeah.
"What did you say? Window B was?" And he said the company name. I go, "That's literally the exact same two options I got."
Right. Right.
Um, but he was saying too with like it's like Mass Save. Like Mass Save doesn't do Windows anymore,
Oh, wow.
and they stopped doing Windows in like 2017, and like my Windows are 30 years old. They would not be eligible because technically speaking, they are energy efficient because they're double
Right.
paned.
Right. Right.
So don't always let those motherfuckers fool you.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yes, my HVAC quote came in, so I do need to then follow up on what rebates and shit are there.
Yeah.
'Cause I assume I gotta fucking do it, but
Yeah.
or I think it might be like an after the fact thing, but I don't know. Whatever.
Yeah.
I'm not having Mass Save do the fucking work. They did the installation at my mother's house, and because like when they book it, they pick the contractor and whoever does the
Exactly.
labor, and they do shit work. So fuck
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. Exactly. So, all right. Well, that's gonna do it for us. So thanks for watching. If you're on YouTube, don't forget to hit the thumbs up down below, subscribe up above. I swapped them today. Um, Subscribe wherever you are if you're an audio guy as well. You leave us 5 stars on Spotify and iTunes. You get us on Instagram at Sarcasm Speaks Pod. Twitter is Sarcasm_speaks. Facebook is Sarcasm Speaks. Website, sarcasmspeaks.com. Check out the show notes below. Support the sponsors. Follow those links. Get some discounts on some cool products. And yeah, until next time, good night, everybody.